Course champions from this season of champions. Coming your way, Score versus Shy, and we've already seen a win and a loss for Shy's Kale, although his loss came at the most narrow of deficits, one auto attack away from winning and losing, and well, it was unfortunately a loss for that. So 1-1 on Kale so far for him in this tournament. Will he be able to advance all the way out to the playoff brackets? The only score standing in his way on Varus versus Kale. We'll have to see if this is enough to bring it back. Now, Shy has always been a big proponent of starting with the Doran's item, at least in the 1v1 tournaments so far. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not that actual power punch that he's able to pack early enough is able to chunk through the Crystalline Flask. Because the more times the Score goes back to base, the more sustain that he's just going to get for free after refilling his Crystalline Flask. And that's the idea. The more you go back to base, you're going to be getting more and more value out of that. And so you just sustain up. You have so much sustain that probably with this low degree of itemization, your opponent isn't going to be able to kill you. You sustain through and are able to go back into base and pick up a comparable number of Doran's items. Now, the difficulty comes when you're actually a Doran's item behind, and specifically versus Shy, whose CSing abilities have actually been relatively strong. May cause a Doran's deficit, which is a recipe for, well, not having a very good time. So, perfect CS for Shy off the first wave. Score has only picked up half of it. Will not be able to CS at least one of these minions under turret. Gets both of the other ones, so 6-5 as far as CS is concerned. But as far as the 1v1, I haven't actually seen them fight each other just yet. In the Kale versus Varus, you'd expect to see level 2 be a big difference. And Shy walking forward for a couple of extra auto attacks, takes less in return, and backs off the creep minion wave, drops aggro. See if he's still able to pick up perfect CS. Yes, 12 out of 12 minions here for Shy. Already way up in front of Score. Will be only one minion behind, so impressive CSing just off the first two waves. And at some point I start shoutcasting minions dying. And as exciting as that is, it's probably going to be more about the individual players and teams so far. And if you want to at least judge things based on the way that their teams have done in Champions this season, I believe CJ Entis, formerly a little bit higher, but tied for third place with the Generic Green Wings and SK Telecom T1 at 4-2 record. So a very, very strong performance from them this season. KT Rolster, however, the team that Score is actually representing, unfortunately sitting down towards the bottom of the champion standings at 1-5. So a little bit difficult to deal with at that point, but at least for the 1v1 matchups, you get to sort of shrug off the organization that you play with as a team and just represent yourself for them as in a 1v1. And I think for Shy specifically, just because he has so much experience in the 1v1 matchup as a top laner, versus Score should have a little bit of an advantage. I don't want to, say that champion pool is going to impact things all that much, but at least for Score, coming out as a jungler, probably not too used to fighting things that fight back as minions and champions do. Although, to be fair, Kale hasn't necessarily seen competitive play in a while, so Shy, we'll see how he does on this. 28-22, already a full CS wave ahead. Still have yet to go back to base, and with this much CS being picked up, you could actually see them skip the 2 Doran spots, just go back to base with one. And while Shy may be forced to use his health potion here in just a little bit, he's going to put the wave back under turret and keep this pressure on for now. Traditionally, you want to go back to base at level 5 so that then you can come back in the lane. Very, very strong. Hit your level 6 power spike, get your ultimate, and then be as strong as you possibly can then. Rather than hitting level 6, going back to base, giving your opponent time to hit level 6 as well, and all kinds of mitigating factors that make you a little bit less strong. So continuing to push this wave into turret. He's okay with taking auto attacks because he knows he's going to be able to go back to base and heal them up. And it's just denying CS from Score. So even if he gets hit there by the piercing arrow, it's not really going to be all that impactful. And of course, keep in mind, there's a very big difference in summoner spells as well. You've got Barrier there on Score, so he'll be able to take a few more hits, whereas Flash there on Shy is really a little bit more of a playmaking spell. Able to close the gap, get in there for auto attacks that Score really doesn't want to take, and will not be able to avoid. If you flash on Score, barring him hitting his ultimate on you, maybe you flash the ultimate just as a whole. Oh, wow, Shy. Don't die just yet on me. He's gonna have to go back to base. Won't lose any minions to turret, but with a cannon wave pushing in, he actually should lose a few minions just to that. Teleporting back means that Shy gets a lane to himself, and, well, if he can CS almost perfectly with an enemy champion in lane, it'll be interesting to see how well he does without it. And there we go, perfect CS off of that minion wave, uncontested. Comes back into lane with 4 Doran's rings. Now, I would have expected maybe a dagger if you want to look for a little bit of extra attack speed, but when it comes to dealing damage, you generally want stats that help you do that. The ability power, great place to get that from, and of course it's actually the combination of ability power and HP that you get just so cost effective, stacking up those Doran's items, and of course about 10 CS ahead, give or take. Score needs to either even that CS up, or CS differential up just a little bit more, start putting on the pressure, because we are over halfway through our trip to 100 CS. And of course, when you get there, you do have to have 10 CS advantage over your opponent. We actually saw one game already decided by just exactly that. 100 to 90 CS. Closest it can get as far as CS to have you win the game based on that criteria. Oh, Shy going in for it. He is level 6. He's going to turn on his ultimate. He will get hit there by Varus, but flashing defensively away from the score. Just put on a little bit too much damage to handle. But keep in mind, the lifesteal from 3 Doran's blades is actually fairly significant. Level 7 hit for both mid laners. Piercing arrows, I believe that actually did not get the healing reduction off the grievous wound, so full value there for the Righteous Fervor. Continuing to dish out damage. Score taking one auto attack after another, but last health potion here coming in for Shy. It's gonna take down probably a little bit more quickly than he would like, and now damage actually coming onto his turret, and you actually won't be able to CS all of it. Actually, no, he is able to CS all of that, and so now sustain advantage for Scores. He's been able to fill up that crystalline flask, and no more consumables here for Shy. Throws down a little bit of a slow, gets a speed up, but does not want to take any more of this damage. Whoa, piercing arrow. He has to head back to base. There's no possible way that he can stay in lane against this. Score is just going to walk up, or even just one piercing arrow wins the game here. Shy does have a little bit of sustain just left in his kit, but very, very mana inefficient, and he's actually pretty low on mana right now, just based on his minion cost. So he's going to try to shove this wave up and get a trip back to base, but oh, here it is. He's going to get level 6. Speed himself back in there. One last auto attack. No, Score almost had the win. It was like 1.5 autos off of that victory, and Shy in the end is able to pull out game number 1 versus Score. Gonna get a quick instant replay. The piercing arrow, I think that actually might have missed as well. And while Shy may get slowed up, caught up in the minion wave, 1 auto attack differential. If Score had actually killed the minion, he might have gotten the auto attack